Well, it depends on us. It really depends on us. You know, it could go in a very bad direction from this point. We're right on a knife edge at the moment. Everything that's happening, you know, so many people have been predicting it to happen this way for so long. And we're seeing now, with particularly with David Cameron's recent speech that we were talking about before, he's attempting to associate online activism and essentially any criticism of government with violent terrorist organisations, saying that online activism is as dangerous as ISIS. And really what he's saying is online criticism is as dangerous as ISIS. And we're seeing this happening right across the board in all of our countries. We're seeing it in Australia, we're seeing it in Canada. We've seen a bill that they're talking about introducing in Canada, C51, which basically criminalises any criticism of government. So you know, we're seeing where it's going. It's becoming very, very dangerous to criticise anything these people are doing. And they're doing this because they're scared, because so many people are talking out about things now. They've really shot themselves in the foot in the last probably 18 months with what they've done in Gaza Strip, with what they've done with ISIS, a lot of what they've done in Syria. I mean, we had huge protests to stop the war in Syria, and they've just cooked up this whole ISIS threat, and they've gone ahead and done it anyway. So, you know, people are waking up to it. And, you know, we're seeing now the steps they're willing to take to prevent us from speaking out, and it could go either way. Either they're going to lock us down completely, or people are going to see it for what it is, which is an opportunity to speak out. Because there's a lot of people now that have gone down all these rabbit holes, all these legal rabbit holes, lose the name, win the game, all this sort of stuff. But that's only going to work now while the system is pretending that it still obeys its own laws. If people don't put all the information that they've gathered through all of these rabbit holes they've gone down, if they don't put it into action now, then we may head for a very dangerous place. But I'm still optimistic. I think that we will get through it. I think that it's all opportunity. If people can maintain a calm demeanour and be polite and eloquent and just speak the truth and maintain the moral high ground in all that they do, I don't think the system's got a leg to stand on. And I think the more it comes for people such as myself, the more this will be demonstrated to the public. Well, free speech is freedom. That's what it is. I mean, it's interesting, you know. It's an interesting dichotomy because they're saying that they're bringing in all of these rules and all of these regulations in order to keep us safe so that we can maintain our freedoms, and yet one of the rules and guidelines they're putting in place is basically banning free speech, which is what freedom is. Freedom of expression, freedom to be yourself, freedom to have an opinion on whatever topic you want to have an opinion on. I mean, this is what freedom is. If they're going to ban this, then how free are you? You know, people need to look at this. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we've seen this in France. We saw the Charlie Hebdo shootings in Paris, which we say was an attack against free speech because someone had put an anti-Muslim cartoon in a magazine, and people got shot over it, and they say this is an attack against free speech, you should be able to say whatever you want. And then a couple of weeks later, someone got arrested for questioning the Holocaust, which is simply investigating an issue and asking questions about it. And this is free speech. And he was jailed, you know, and he was jailed under the free speech legislation that they brought in place because of Charlie Hebdo. So, you know, people have got to see that this is, it's doublespeak. Everything they're doing is doublespeak. Without free speech, you don't have freedom. Without the ability to question your government, then you can have no government accountability, and you end up in a dictatorship. If you can't question your government, when questioning your government becomes a crime, then your government can do anything it wants. It can carry out unbridled terrorism against its citizens, and if you question it, you become the terrorist. It's not acceptable. You know, but again, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to see what's going on and call a spade, because it's a blatant attack against freedom under the claim of defending freedom, which is how they do it all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, even criticising Israel seems to be taboo. You cannot criticise the actions of the State of Israel in any way. If you do, you're perceived to be anti-Semitic. And this is a smokescreen which is allowing the State of Israel to carry out a myriad of war crimes and human rights violations. And it is. It's not a debatable point. It's carrying out massive amounts of human rights violations. And all of this is riding on the back of the Holocaust, which I mentioned before. And yet you're not allowed to question the Holocaust. You're not even allowed to investigate it. You are allowed to investigate it, but if during the course of that investigation you find anything that questions the official line, you're not allowed to ask those questions. Now that to me creates a real problem, because everything the State of Israel is doing is riding on the back of this event, which we're not allowed to investigate. Why aren't we allowed to investigate it? It's like the only event in history that no one is allowed to investigate. And if you do investigate it, you're only allowed to investigate it in such a manner that backs up the official story. And I'm not saying the official story is wrong. I'm not saying, I'm not being a Holocaust denier. I'm simply asking, why is any investigation into this labelled as Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism? It doesn't make sense at all. And this is what Israel is using to carry out all these war crimes. As soon as you question Israel, it goes anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, and you have to be quiet. It's, I can't go there, have to be quiet, have to respect the dead. And it's just allowing Israel to carry out flagrant human rights violations. So I think it's an important issue. And I think the fact that this man has just been jailed, they're actually introducing legislation to criminalise any questioning of this event. So this indicates to me that there are people who are terrified of this event being investigated, and that raises a red flag, because truth does not fear investigation.
Yes, and so at the topic though, you're not anti-Jewish.
I'm not anti-Jewish. I've got a Jewish man staying at the house. I mean, I'm not anti-Jewish at all. And it's not anti-Semitic to question the actions of any government. Just because it's a Jewish government, it doesn't mean it's anti-Semitic to question their actions. If it was Ireland doing this to Cornwall, I'd be questioning the actions of Ireland. If it was France doing it to Germany, I'd be questioning the actions of France. It doesn't matter who it is. We've got to get rid of all of this ethnic and religious rubbish, all of this national rubbish, and think, oh, it's the Israelis doing it to the Palestinians, or it's the Germans doing it to the Jews. It's people doing it to people is what it is. These are humanitarian issues. All the countries, all the nationalities, all the ethnicities, we tend to look at the world from this perspective, from a perspective of us and them. The Arabs, or the Jews, or the French, or the Germans, or the British, or the Americans, they're all just people. It's just people. We made all the boundaries and borders up. It's just people hurting other people. It's a humanitarian issue. All the problems that we have on the planet are all humanitarian issues. It's a humanitarian crisis, which is all happening because people are following other people's parameters, following other people's ideas of who and what they are, religious perspectives, ethnic perspectives, political perspectives. Put all that aside, it's a humanitarian issue. There's people that are suffering because of the actions of other people that are usually doing so because of someone else's idea that's been put into their head. It's absurd. And if we can rise above all of that, and rise above all the ethnicity and all the belief that we can own countries and all of this sort of stuff, and realise that there's just one human family on this planet, and there's a lot of suffering going on because of our neglect and our unwillingness to look at things from a human perspective. We always put humanity at the bottom of the equation when it should be at the top of the equation. And we need to change our perspective and look at things from that way, and I think we'll heal it.
Yes.